Hey guys, welcome back to another stream. Thank you so much for joining me. I totally messed up today because I had scheduled a stream at 5 with Dan. He's in California, so he's 9 hours behind me. And I thought that the Liverpool City game was today. Turns out I was checking the wrong day because I was not rock climbing. I was bouldering for 3 hours today and I'm so exhausted. Like my mind was just gone. But thankfully, my friend Younes here is here to completely bail me out. And I'm so lucky that I have a friend like Younes who is just willing to hop on at the last second. So Younes, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
Not bad. Thank you for having me on. It was really good timing, to be honest, because I'd literally wrapped up my preview and that's coming shortly, but I managed to sort it out. You messaged me and I was like, yeah, I'm home. I'm free. Why not? Let's talk about football. I'm cool with that. So yeah, no problem. Good timing.
Yeah, thank God. So sorry guys for any mix up. I am literally just exhausted, but thank you everybody for tuning in at this time. And I think it's working out now. So Younes, first, I just wanted to briefly get your thoughts about that. I felt like a masterclass against Tottenham. How did you feel about that? Like how lucky, oh my God, somebody's called me. Sorry. Like, how did you feel? It's just not going well.
Everything is just completely spontaneous.
I think it's an apartment. That's what's going on, like an apartment viewing. So what did you think about Thomas Tuchel's tactics? You know, he was versus Mourinho and it was really going to be a massive showdown. So I think that it really speaks a lot about him that he was able to get the win, his first win against Mourinho, only his third game, really like second in charge. So how did you feel about that?
I mean, you said it perfectly. Like we thought it was going to be a big showdown. At the end of the day, for 75 minutes, it wasn't really. It was, Tuchel and Chelsea setting out for what they wanted, but Jose just had Spurs really sat back negatively, doing nothing. And I expected more. We know what Jose is going to do. We knew he was going to be defensive, but I didn't think it'd be like that. I thought, big game and there's a chance, for Spurs to try and use Son and to try and use the power that they have in midfield. But we dominated, especially in that first half. It was all Chelsea. So considering how we played, I'm really happy. Considering our development and what Tuchel's footprint on the team and what it's starting to look like is really exciting. And I wasn't worried. Again, which surprises me because we're a Jose team and we were a Jose team. I remember us, we felt, for big periods of our time under Jose, we felt, indestructible, invincible. Except for that one season where it all went pear-shaped. But with Spurs, it just doesn't look like his tactics or his style is going to work. But with us, it's really working and we're just getting better and better and better. So hopefully it keeps going.
Yeah, I just saw this comment, like, LOL. I feel like everybody's just here for you, Younes. Like, I don't know what business I have on the stream, honestly. I should just leave it for you.
I did share it, so hopefully there's a few coming over and they'll realize what's going on. But be here for Liz as well. Be here for her as well.
It would be nice, you guys. It would be nice, but it's okay. I totally understand it because Younes is great. So don't worry. I understand it. No, but really well said. I think that we really won that midfield battle. And I said this on the stream yesterday, but I felt like in previous games that the opposition team, whoever it was, I felt like had 12 or 13 players on the pitch and we would have 8. It felt like, it didn't feel like an even match. And then against Tottenham, it felt like, oh, we're the ones who are finding a lot of space. We're the ones who look like we have more men on the pitch somehow, even though it's even, you know what I mean? I just felt like we were completely dominating them and winning. And I think it's a massive, massive credit to Tuchel because the way that he's just turned things around so quickly, the new system as well, it seems to be really working. I was a little bit worried about it at first because I always felt like a 3 at the back could be really defensive system, but he's showing us that, if you play really attacking wing backs and you're progressing the ball a lot and then you have the 2 attacking players up front linking up, it really could work and be a very attacking minded system. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes for quite a lot of formations. When people see a formation, they get they get a feeling, just like a stigma of what's normally associated with that one formation. But it's not like that. You have your base and you have your style of play and you have your philosophy, and then the formation comes afterwards. Just because it's a back three, it doesn't have to be defensive. You can just leave yourself with 3 defenders in a back three and have everyone else play offensively. It can turn into quite an offensive formation if you want it to. It just depends on the manager. Under Antonio Conte, it was one thing. Under Tuchel, it's another thing. It's not going to be the same. And it suits us because it's given us that balance. We have good balance now, defensively and offensively. And yeah, when we have... against Tottenham, for example, we had Hudson-Odoi play a lot more offensively, and we had Reece James as right wing back, which... you look on paper and you think, okay, well, Reece James is a defender. But when we've got no threat and we have license for Reece James to just go on the overlap, that's going to be, even more of an attack for us. So against Spurs, it was great. We had protection at the back. We had the midfield that were bossing the game. And no matter what the circumstance was, they always found a way to get through. Even when if they were man-marked or if they weren't and Tottenham were playing a little bit more zonal, we still went through. If we were playing through the wings, we were on the overlap, we were loading those wings and we were on the attack, we were in control. So regardless of what happened, we were in control. And it's a nice balance to have. So Tuchel absolutely deserves credit for his 3rd game in charge. Yeah, big time.
Incredible turnaround, honestly. So surprising. Yeah. That kind of leads me really nicely into this question that we got from Pradeep. He says, question to Younes, what's going on in the final third? Is it because of new tactics or forward players lost confidence? And this is something that I felt and kind of realized as well, that going forward, we looked so good. And then it just seemed like that final pass, that final shot. At some points, Timo looks like he wasn't putting enough power into his shots. And it was kind of just like passing back to Lloris and Mason Mount as well. We know that he has a good shot on him, but his final shot has looked really off recently with Pulisic as well. Callum probably looks the best out of all of them, but he can improve his shooting as well. So I just feel like all of our attacking players don't really have their shooting boots on. I don't know. Do you get that sensation as well? What do you think it is?
I think there's 2 things there. I think it is tactical. I think there is a sense of adjustment for the players to get used to what Tuchel wants. And, playing a new system isn't going to click straight away. But when it comes to our front men, I think there needs to be a bit more of a fluidity in terms of positioning or creating space or running into certain areas for players to support whoever's on the ball. I think in the final third, whoever gets it looks a little bit hesitant and looks a little bit like, okay, what do I do? Where's everyone? And there is that, but I think that comes with time. I think it's because Tuchel's just shown up. Once we get used to it, I think that is the last remaining piece that we need to really sort. And after that, we have our foundation. So there is that. Plus, we've had those front men have some shots and it's just either been too weak or defenders have thrown their bodies and blocked shots, or we've had good saves made. Like Lloris made a couple of really good saves. That was going in. Mason Mount and Timo, if I'm not mistaken. Even Reece James managed to get a couple of shots and Lloris got in the way. We had a couple of defenders make their blocks, including Eric Dyer, who had a really bad game, but even he managed to make a block. So sometimes it's just unfortunate. You can't expect perfection. Sometimes it is just what it is. Your players take shots, or they're blocked or they're saved. That you can't help that. So there's an element of both. I think once we start to find ways and Tuchel really gets the players to click in terms of moving into spaces where opposition are not thinking about, and we can create certain moves, I think that's going to lead to more chances, and more chances hopefully leads to more goals. So just a little bit of more time needed, I think.
Yeah, really, really well said. And I think it's kind of a little bit underrated how many times our players have hit the post or hit the crossbar. I do feel like that happens quite a bit as well. But something else, I think, historically, Chelsea, I feel like have struggled to break down those low block teams. So it's really a positive sign that we faced 3 low block teams, won two of the games. And I really can't even judge the Wolves game because Lampard had just left. Tuchel had 1 game, 1 hour with the team. So I really can't even judge that. So just being able to break down those low block teams and to get the wins is something that's really positive. And I think that they'll start to find ways to find that space, like you said. And something else that I kind of want to touch on is that these players really like are not used to playing together, because I feel like under Lampard's, the front three was like chopped and changed quite a lot. A lot of people were injured coming back into the team, and now it's a completely different system as well. They have pretty different roles, I think. So I think that, once you get these players more used to playing together, gaining that chemistry, because sometimes you can see that they're not really on the same wavelength as well. I think that that's going to help improve and like get the shots. And like I said, we've been facing really low block teams, and that's not like the normal, like eventually you're going to face a team that's not going to have 9 or 10 men behind the ball. You know what I mean? So
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully. We have some really tough fixtures coming up, so maybe I bite my tongue once those come up. Just going through the comments. If you guys have any questions that you want us to get to, please comment them so that I can get to them. It really provides me a lot of enjoyment to interact with you guys as well. I'm just going through from when we said everybody was here for you. Yeah, make sure to subscribe, you guys. It really means a lot, honestly. My scroller.
Smash it, guys, for me. Smash it. Hit the subscribe button. Come on.
If you do it for anybody, just do it for Younes. God, that's so funny. So now I'm going to get rid of this comment now. Just not
Queen Elizabeth, yeah? Queen Elizabeth III.
I always liked my name, especially because I always wanted to be British. I felt like I missed out on that opportunity in my life. So
we can adopt you, no problem.
So now I'm in Spain, so it's kind of like a sister. I feel like I'm a little bit closer than I was across the pond in the US. So I want to move forward to that Sheffield game. We've seen this 3-4-2-1-ish system. It's really been working for us in the past couple of games. We face another low block side. So do you think that we're going to see the same formation in this game as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think Sheffield United are not. if we're looking forward to a team that's going to try and take the game to us, I don't think that's going to be Sheffield United. I think they're going to set up low. They're in a situation where they're going to get relegated. So right now they don't really have much to lose. And when you look at the way they played against Man United, they beat them at Old Trafford. So credit to them. You look at the way that they played against Manchester City, and even though it was just a 1-0 loss, it's still just 1-0 against Man City, who are clicking, and they beat West Brom. So I'm sure they're starting to feel a little bit more confident, and that confidence is rising. So we have to remember Sheffield United are just going through a really horrific season. They're not a bad team. I don't know what's just happened, but last season they were completely different to what they are now. So we can't underestimate them completely. However, I do think because of their circumstance, they're going to be sitting back and trying to wait for the opportunity, which again, similarly to Burnley. Burnley weren't a team that just sat back and done nothing. They were a team that were waiting and on the occasion did try to press the team up a little bit high. I think Sheffield United will be playing very similarly. So keep the same formation, keep the same system because it works against that type of team. We've seen now it works. And if it's clicking and we got players that are playing really well, why try and fix something that's not broken? I think the way Tuchel has brought this in now is just to try and secure top 4, to try and just steer the ship and to come up with something that's stable enough. When we get into pre-season, then we can start experimenting and trying to bring new things in. But for now, I think we're going to stick with something like this. So keep it as it is because it's working. And against Sheffield United, I think it'll be similarly to how we played against Burnley, how we played against Wolves, and even Spurs. So keep it the same.
Yeah, no, really well said. I totally agree. And I hope that we can be clinical. It's going to be another one of those games where I feel like we need to be really clinical with our chances, because with those low block sides, you probably don't get that many chances. And then there's a chance for them to break or get a silly free kick or get a corner or something and score from that. So I feel like that's been a typical Chelsea story that we don't take advantage of our shots, of our chances, and then we kind of get punished. So we really need to be very cognizant of that. And so I want to ask you another question. I really don't have an answer to this. It's something that I've kind of been 50-50 about. So we know that we just...
I'm curious.
I'm getting nervous now. Okay, so we know that we just played Tottenham on Thursday. We play Sheffield just 3 days. It's really 1 day of recovery, 1 day of training, and then game day. So do you stick with similar players, knowing that you have an FA Cup that you can use as rotation on that Thursday? Or do you decide to rotate because it really isn't that much time and maybe the players are a little bit burnt out? It's a really quick turnaround. What do you think?
No, I'd stick with some of the players that played against Spurs, mainly because we have Barnsley. If we didn't have that, I'd be like, okay, rotate. But because we have Barnsley, we can keep the same men that played against Spurs, or at least the majority of the team. After that, we have Newcastle, which again it's not the toughest fixture in the world. I mean, they won today, so fair play, or they're winning. I'm not sure if they're still playing, but they've got 3 points. So yeah. So I do think because of the Barnsley game, I think there's going to be heavy rotation for that. I think players that have been on the bench will all feature against Barnsley. So we can go with a strong lineup tomorrow. The back three as well as a formation, except for the wing backs. And you could say the midfield, like the central midfielders, Kovacic and Jorginho. Everyone else doesn't really have to run as much. It's not a strenuous formation. So I think we can stick. For tomorrow, I think we can stick. And then rotate for Barnsley. I'll be cool with that.
That's what I was leaning towards as well, but I don't know. Like, I do 1 day of bouldering and I'm sore for like 4 days after that. So I don't know how they do it.
Hey, if you get to recover at Cobham, I'm sure you'll be fine. Like, you're recovering at home. You haven't got what they got.
That is very true. So I'm just going to start going through some of the questions that you guys are sending in. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. Pratibha, how could Chelsea defense survive without the leader Silva? And it really broke my heart to see him come off. I was praying that he would recover and that he would be able to shake it off, but he wasn't. I haven't seen any news actually about the injury, like how long he's going to be out. Have you?
It's I know it's a thigh injury. It's a muscle injury. So just based on history and experience, I'm expecting about 2 weeks.
Okay.
I guess. I think he'll be back for maybe just before the Atletico game. If I'm predicting, because he's 36, he's not going to be someone that just recovers quick. So yeah, I'm expecting around there 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like at least it's not that long. We don't have super difficult fixtures, Yeah. Hopefully he's back before Atletico. So now we have a back three, and I think we're probably going to see Aspie, Christensen, and Rudiger. I don't know I think Zuma had like a minor niggle. I'm not sure.
He did, but he's back in full training. He trained yesterday as normal. So yeah, I think, to be honest, I think Zuma will step in if I'm making a prediction.
I hope so, because I felt like he got dropped pretty unfairly, to be honest. You're so up to date with this. Yeah.
To be honest, I only found out because of Chelsea Unseen. If you saw on their YouTube channel, they put a video up of them training, and Zuma was back in full training. So I'm like, okay, cool, he's back. Okay.
So I don't feel like that terrible for not knowing that. But yeah, I definitely want to see Zuma back in, and I think it would be a good game to get him in the side, and hopefully his height. We know that he's so good at scoring from corners. He really provides like a focal point, I feel like, in that corner, and we just know that he can jump so freaking high. So I really want to see him back in the team, and hopefully, since there's a third center back spot, we will see him. Talking about center backs, like, I'm so happy that Aspie's back in the team, honestly.
Affiliations. No, me too. He's I was always worried as him as a right back and being relied on as a right back, but in this role it suits him perfectly because he doesn't have to bomb forward as much, but he's even proven that he can in circumstances. He reads it well and gets forward and contributes. He even scored and then gets back in time, and that was our worry, that maybe it's too late for him to keep up, but he's doing it. So yeah, fair play.
I just love him. For you guys that don't know from Twitter, there's like an ongoing joke that my husband is Azpilicueta's twin. Like, I honestly think that they look alike. And I told him this when I met him. I was like, has anybody ever told you look like Azpilicueta? And they're both Spanish as well. So I was like, definitely something along the line. Like, they really, really look so similar. So moving it along. I'm like so tired. I have like the giggles now. So Kelly goes, J5 and Kova look really good. I think that's due to the fact that the forwards drop deep to receive the ball. And I do think that they're progressing the ball. I think that we've seen Kovacic like do what he does best and like dribble with the ball. He doesn't lose possession really. I feel like he's looked really renewed under Tuchel. Jorginho has looked a lot better as well. So I want to ask you a difficult question. Does N'Golo Kante get back into this team for you?
It's difficult, isn't it? It's tough. No, you know what? I think in a situation where we're playing low block teams, or at least mid block teams that tend to sit low and defend predominantly, Kante doesn't belong there. With Jorginho and Kovacic, if they have the space and freedom to roam and pass and move, they're playing because they're more possession based. They're more in terms of trying to create build up and attack. Whereas Kante is a seeker and destroyer. You know, Kante with the support of someone alongside him is his best, but he is someone that likes to just interrupt the opponent's build-up, take possession off, and, you know, retain the ball. So if we're playing against a team that's trying to come at us, I definitely then would decide to play Kante as someone that can get us on transition quick and get an attack going really quickly to catch a team out on a counter-attack. So right now, like a Sheffield United, for example, no, Kante doesn't start. Not to say that he can't do it, and he's just come back from injury. And I know Tuchel has a plan for him because he wanted him at PSG, and we spoke about this last time as well. I fully trust that Tuchel is going to implement Kante and use him maybe to the best of his ability. I've got a high hope in terms of how Tuchel's going to use Kante. But there's going to be certain games that fit certain situations, and like tomorrow, I'd stick with Jorginho and Kovacic.
Yeah,
but Kante will be used. He will be used. Don't worry. I'm
really
sure.
really well said. And I think, like, I totally agree. Like, if we were playing against a City or Liverpool type, then Conte would probably like move into the starting 11. And something else is that Conte has been playing like almost every single game, tons of minutes for football for years and years and years. And we're seeing that he's starting to get a little bit more injury prone. He's getting a little bit older. And just look at Eden Hazard at Real Madrid. Like, he's barely played for them just because he's been so, like, I've never seen him so injured. And he plays a couple of games and then he gets injured, and then a couple more and then he gets injured. And it's so unfortunate. I feel really bad.
Especially for Hazard, especially that it's Hazard.
Yeah, just because it was his dream move, and then, you know, it's just hasn't been working out, and I feel really, really bad for him. But I think that we should try to protect N'Golo Kante from becoming too injury prone, because we do see that he is starting to rack up those niggles here and niggles there, out for a couple of weeks. So he doesn't have to play every single game. It's good to have some rotation. It's good to have competition for spots as well. And I think that it's a sign of a really good team. Like, just look at Man City's squad. You look at their bench, they could all perfectly be starting 11 players. They really could. So I think that Chelsea are starting to look that way. You know, I never thought of it as being like a super sustainable goal to try to be like Manchester City, but Chelsea have a really, really strong bench now. It's like, oh, you take Kalamov, okay, Pulisic on, or Ziyech on, you know, so we have a lot of really strong players that can help us affect the games even more.
That's the thing. You know, what's crazy is, and I remember myself saying this because now I look back and I'm thinking, how did I think that? But we all done it. When, you know, this isn't an attack on Lampard, by the way, but when we were under Lamps, especially in midfield, you know, we all started to think, okay, no matter who plays, we're screwed in midfield. Like, no matter who we pick, we're struggling. Yeah. And we got into the mindset of, we don't have good midfielders anymore. We just legit started to question our midfielders and go, maybe they're not as good as we think they are. And look at them now. You know, I mean, Jorginho and Kovacic are flying. Then we look to the bench and we've got a Havertz to come on. We've got a Ziyech. We've got a Kante. It's crazy. We've got players that can move central like Pulisic or Hudson-Odoi instead of just playing as traditional wingers. So it's crazy. All of a sudden it's flipped and we've gone, now we've got a strong midfield. It's mad.
Yeah. No,
so credit to Tuchel. Credit to
really
Tuchel.
Well said. I don't know like what he's done, but his instructions have just been absolutely amazing. We just look so much stronger, and the players really all look rejuvenated rejuvenated. I think that they're all really trying to fight for a spot as well. So whenever they do get time on the pitch, they're trying to impress, even if it's just for 20 or 30 minutes. And I think that really does a lot for the team as well. And I just really like his tactics. Like, I feel like whatever team he puts out, I feel that I can trust in them to try to deliver what he's instructed them to do, and that they just look like they have a new light under them. You know, it feels really, really good to see the team playing well. And it's only been a couple of games, so I feel like I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I feel like it can only go up from here. You know, if they're already playing this well with just a couple of games. Holy crap, there's almost 200 of you guys watching this. What the heck? That's insane.
I told you, they shifted over.
That's insane. You know, I used to be a shy girl who didn't like to give speeches or public speak or anything. It's like, look at me
And
now.
here you are.
Insane. So Juliet posted, Pulisic has to start, and Pulisic has not started any game under Tuchel. So what do you think about that? Do you think that he hasn't started Pulisic because he knows that he can rely on him for like that extra energy boost in the second half? Or do you think that he really just doesn't deserve to start? Where do you see him fitting into the team as well? Because, you know, we have Callum playing really well. I don't know. It's a difficult one.
No, I your first point is what I think. I think Tuchel knows him and knows what to expect, and is someone that he can look at Pulisic and rely on him. If we do need to bring him on, he knows exactly what he's getting. So I think, to be honest, with that comment and that question that you've just read out, I agree. So for tomorrow against Sheffield United, I think he needs to start. And personally, I would put Hudson-Odoi back at right wing back. Because we don't like the Tottenham team, it helped us having that extra attacking influence just because it's Tottenham and we knew they were going to sit back and they're not an easy team to get through. So that makes sense. But with Sheffield United, I think it would be best to have Hudson-Odoi back as right wing back, where he played really well against Burnley and Wolves, and put Pulisic in as a 10 alongside Mason Mount. Then he can start the game. And I think his directness might be able to help us get some goals in terms of our frontmen scoring. And if I had to put money on it, I think Pulisic will be the first goal scorer. I've said that in my previous, not out yet, but when it comes out, you'll see I'm saying Pulisic's going to be the first goal scorer if he starts. So that's why I would go with Pulisic to start.
Oh, that makes me happy, because you guys know my two favorite players are Azpilicueta and Pulisic. We talked about both of them. So for me, it's been hard to not see him start, to not be scoring goals, because he was on such fire like last season at the restart, and now he really like hasn't been scoring that much. I'm just like trying to go through the comments, but there's so many, so I don't
play accordingly.
I don't know how to handle it, you guys. I've never had this many comments. So let's go through. I think that it's a good time to try to pivot to a starting 11 prediction lineup, because we kind of touched on it a little bit. We think that it's going to be the same formation. You said that you think Pulisic is starting, so let's try to just firm up this starting 11 against Sheffield. So I think obviously Mendy's in goal, and then
Kepa. I'm kidding.
I was like, wait, what?
We're going back there. No, Mendy in goal.
So Mendy in goal, and then you said Callum at right wing back, and then the center back three of Zuma, Rudiger, and Azpilicueta. Yeah,
so Aspi as the right centre back, I'd stick with Rudiger as the left, and I'd bring Zuma in the middle. Where Thiago Silva was.
Yep. Cool. And then who do you play as the left wing back? Do you bring Ben Chilwell into the game? Do you keep with Marcos Alonso? And I actually have an interesting question for you, Marcos Alonso. A lot of people are saying he had 2 average performances, but the worldie against Burnley kind of covered it up. What do you think?
No, I kind of disagree. The Burnley game, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was great. And he got the goal, but I thought everything he done was spot on. And against Spurs, he had a good game. It wasn't his best game, but he didn't really set a foot wrong. The only negative that I saw was how he got caught out by Aurier once when he tried to catch up to Aurier and he couldn't, because we know Alonso isn't the fastest in the world. Oh, my camera's just gone off. we know that in terms of pace, Alonso is not the fastest. So that's the only negative. But apart from that, no, he played really well. So, no, I'd stick with Alonso in a back three. I think Ben Chilwell as a left wing back is not. We both have problems.
I have my laptop on a laundry basket and I kicked it.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, that's like my setup right now, you guys. But sorry, I interrupted you.
Hey, no. We've all been there. True Geordie had his on an ironing board when he started, so you're not alone.
So
absolutely. No, with Ben Chilwell, I don't think he's as dynamic as Alonso is at left wing back. I think he's very just one-dimensional. Alonso is an opportunist. So as a left wing back, if he has the license to run forward and attack, he tends to find the opportunity to get in the box at the right time, avoid defenders, avoid a marker. Whereas Chilwell is all about that traditional left back. He's just get the ball, overlap, cross the box. That's it. So if we're playing in a back four, I'd go with Chilwell. If we're playing in a back three, stick with Alonso.
Yeah, really well said. I think I'm hoping that having Alonso back into the mix as well is going to put a fire under Ben Chilwell's belly, so to speak, because he really hasn't had great performances. I thought he started the season really well, and then as the team started to dip, his performances dipped as well. It was not just him, it was the entire team, and it's really difficult to play well when the entire team just isn't playing well. Yeah, but I do think that he started versus Wolves, he was subbed off, which he was very surprised about, and now he has some competition for that spot, and he really has to train hard and work hard, impress in the time that he does get on the pitch, because Alonso is breathing down his neck. And I feel kind of bad for Emerson, because he was kind of finding his way back into the team, and then now it's just back to third choice again, because let's be real, Marcos Alonso is a really great left wing back, and he just gets into those positions that we see him kind of on the edge of the box or at the near post or whatever it is. He knows where to be, and he has a really good left foot and a good shot in him. So yeah, I agree with Marcos Alonso starting. And I think, like you said, we probably will see a pivot of Jorginho and Kovacic. Again, I would kind of be surprised if they were rested, just because, like you said, we do have that Barnsley game on Thursday where they'll be able to get some rest. And now it gets really interesting. So we have 3 spots left, right? If I'm doing my math correct.
Yeah. Three left. So
okay.
the two and a 1, if we're going with a 3-4-2-1. Yeah. So
who starts for you as the 2?
The 2 10s, I'd go with Pulisic and Mason Mount.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go with Mason Mount on the right side of that and Pulisic on the left side of that. Mason Mount, I think, especially with Hudson-Odoi, has some very good chemistry going on. And he's looking a lot more direct. He's not that traditional box-to-box midfielder now. He is someone that can come deep to collect the ball, retrieve, and go on the half turn, create space for himself, and look at his runners. And I think, Mason Mount is doing really well. The only thing he needs to improve, just like everyone else up front, is just shooting. And we know Mason Mount can shoot, but just get them on target. and that's it, which he can do. So if he has a couple of cracks, if there's space, or if we're finding it hard to get through, then I'm relying on Mason to have a few shots. But his relationship with Hudson-Odoi is something that's really good, and I hope he can feed Timo Werner as well. So there's that, and Pulisic on the left-hand side of him, who, as I said earlier on, I think is going to be quite direct, the dribbler, someone that can get past just individually. We know he's full of skill. We know he can link up well, and he can finish. So Pulisic and Mount for me would be the 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really well said. And something I forgot to mention when we talked about the shots being off is that I feel like, especially with Mason, but I think it goes for all of the players, that they're really eager to impress under a new manager as well. So maybe they're just overthinking that final pass, that final shot a little bit, and they're just in their heads a little bit. So I think if they just take a second, or split second, whatever it is, and think about it a little bit more, they'll start to get their shots off. But really well said. I hope that Pulisic can get some starts. And I think with Callum Hudson-Odoi especially playing so well, they they kind of occupy similar positions. I don't know if we would necessarily see Pulisic as a right wing back, but I also never thought I would see Callum as a right wing back. But I think since, especially, they're kind of similar-ish players, I think. So since Callum is playing so well, I hope that it pushes Pulisic to play well as well. And we know how hard he pushes himself and what a great mentality he has. I think we tend to forget he's just 22. Like, I feel like he's a lot older, and he really is like one of the youngsters, but just because he wasn't in the academy, I feel like sometimes we tend to forget that. So I totally agree. And before we go on to that striker position, which is an interesting one as well, I want to get your thoughts on this interesting question from Jacob. He said, question for both of you. Do you see Kai Havertz pushing in the starting 11? I feel like Mason is his biggest competitor in that role, so we might not see him consistently for a while. I don't know if you're in your video, if you saw Kai training as well, because I know that he was out too. I don't know if
he did train, yeah. No, with Kai Havertz, I'm not expecting too much this season. I'm expecting him to really shine next season. And that's not to say he's not going to play this season. I think just like everyone else, everyone's going to be involved. So everyone will play their part, that's for sure. And if I'm predicting, I think he'll start against Barnsley. But Tuchel, I reckon, has a plan for him, for Timo Werner as well. The lads that have just come to the club, especially someone as young as Kai Havertz, you've got to remember, moving into the Premier League at the highest level at a young age it's not easy. And we've seen it in the past with players that have come to Chelsea and their first season's been good or average, just, good, decent. But it's not been a worldie. It's not been they've blown, proportion or something like that. But the season afterwards, once they have a good summer to train and go through a Premier League standard pre-season, is when they really begin to shine. I think Havertz needs to improve physically. And probably you could say the same for Timo Werner. You could say the same for any of the lads that have come to Chelsea from abroad. It always takes one season, or at least, into a pre-season to improve physically. We saw it with Drogba. We saw it with Hazard. We saw it with these lads who came first season. They did well. They did good. But they looked, fragile. And then they come back after summer, and all of a sudden they look a bit more bulky. They look a little bit more stronger, and they look just a little bit more dominant. And I think that's what's going to happen to Kai, Timo. So bring on next season. For this season, they'll be involved, but don't expect too much. That's where I am.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think the lack of preseason as well really affected the team, because a lot of people have said, as a manager, and when you're training with a team, like, the preseason is really the time where you try to iron out like the formation, and you get used to playing with each other, and you gain some chemistry. You have a couple of like friendlies that you can play as well, and we just didn't really see that this season. So I think, it's, like you said, it's a completely new league. It's a very physical league as well, and if they can put on a little bit of muscle, they're getting adjusted to it, and I'm sure that they're going to come in clutch for us. And I think that Tuchel's main job is going to try to figure out, you pay 70 million for Kai Havertz, you're not just going to bench him forever.
Exactly.
So I do think that he has to try to figure out how he can fit in Kai Havertz and Timo Werner and get the best out of them. I do think that Kai Havertz and Mount can play in the same team, and like you said, we probably are playing in this formation this season, but who knows what we're going to be playing next season or in a couple of games. We know that Tuchel is very flexible with this, and that he can change formations. And I really trust him to understand the strengths and the weaknesses of each player, and to try to make a formation that optimizes the best out of the starting 11 that he chooses. I really, really trust him to do that. I really have been impressed with what I've seen so far. So I do think that we're going to see that in the future. But right now, the goal is just stop the goals from leaking, start winning some games, picking it up, close the gap between top four, and just try to get into top four, secure Champions League, and then we can reassess in the summer. So really, really well said. Sam Williams goes, I feel like Tuchel is the manager to finally get the best out of Cho. We've seen that he's been consistently starting, got 2 back-to-back man of the match performances as well. What do you think? Like, I think that Callum is just such an impressive player, and we're starting to really see the best out of him, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah, I saw a little interview from him yesterday, and he was giving it to Sky Sports. And they asked him about what life under Tuchel is like, and how are you doing? And he had the biggest grin on his face, and he was just you could see he's really happy. He's really happy, and he even said, which might subconsciously be a little thing at Lampard, but he said, to have a manager on the touchline that is shouting and telling you what to do and giving you instruction. And he said, as a player, you don't like to be shouted at, but it's motivation. And he's like, I find it motivating, and it's really good, and everything is nice. And you could just see he's really happy. And I think Tuchel, not just Tuchel, I think there's a big German fascination on Callum Hudson-Odoi and his style and the way he plays. And I think Tuchel is he knows exactly what to do with him, I think. And I trust him. I fully trust him in terms of what Hudson-Odoi is going to bring to the team, and individually how he's going to develop. I'm really happy we didn't sell him now. With looking how it's all come together, I'm really happy we kept him. And under Tuchel, I'm really excited for where he's going to go. So, yeah, I think Hudson-Odoi could go to the next level under Tuchel.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so as well. So I'm laughing at this comment because it says, Younes, what are you doing here?
I'm everywhere now.
I just laughing. So I do want to ask you, who do you think are going to be the key players in tomorrow's game to try to get that win?
I would say Christian Pulisic if he starts, for sure. I think Hudson-Odoi on that right-hand side, again, if he is playing as a right wing-back. But to be honest, it's difficult under Thomas Tuchel to just try and pick one or two men. Because you can tell with Tuchel, it's a team thing. It's like it's everyone playing, and he describes it himself. Everyone brings their part, and it has to be like an orchestra, which is the way that he described it. And when he describes it like that, I love it because it makes complete sense. Every single person has their responsibility, and every single person has their instrument and how they're going to play. And together as an orchestra, if it all comes together, it sounds beautiful. So, I think that is what he's looking for. So regardless of who we have on the pitch, I think as a collective, as long as that back three is stable, as long as Jorginho and Kovacic, if they are playing, which I predict, are still the two in the pivot and they keep doing what they're doing, they got a little bromance going on, so it's nice. And, the wing backs in Alonso or Hudson-Odoi, our front men, the 2 10s, and fingers crossed Timo Werner, who I'm begging is going to score tomorrow. Fingers crossed. That would be great. That would be lovely. And yeah, as long as everyone's doing that, I think it's hard to pick one or two players. I think it's a collective. But I'm looking forward to hopefully Pulisic starting. That's the one thing that I want to see.
Oh, me too. We got another one. I did expect Younes here. Why are you guys not expecting Younes to join? I don't get it.
You know what's cool? This is how it is now, especially with like Chelsea, the Chelsea community on YouTube. It's like everyone is now collabing with everyone, and you can just tell everyone's on everyone's show. So it's really cool. Yeah, expect all of us to be everywhere. Yeah, that's how it is now.
And what you guys don't know is that Younes and I actually have the same birthday as well. We have that extra birthday twin connection going on. So
Exactly. There's a special something in the universe for how we've been aligned. We've been born on the same day. So we already spoke about this. When it comes to our birthday, we'll do something big for you guys. So
we don't know what it is yet, but it's going to be.
We don't know, but it'll be something.
We'll mark it down. August 9th, you guys. Something big is coming. Can't forget it. So I just realized that I totally forgot to do the striker in the predicted 11. I just completely lost my head with that. But you did mention
we've already assumed who it is.
So I'm assuming that you think Timo's gonna start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Funnily enough, that video on the Chelsea channel. If you do check out Chelsea Unseen, you'll see Timo Werner scores like with his head, and he slots it into like the corner. And you can see the entire team is like, oh yeah, Timo, yeah. And everyone's encouraging him. And he has his biggest smile and he's like, yeah, thank you guys. It's really good to see the entire team and Thomas Tuchel all behind Timo to try and get him up and running. He's playing well. He's not playing badly. He's playing well. And against Tottenham, he done fantastic. Again, he just didn't score. But you could say the same for our front men. No, none of them scored.
Yep.
We just need him to stick the ball in the net. Once that happens, that's it. Cool. I think from that point onwards, he'll be back to normal. So, yeah, Timo starts for me.
Yeah, no, for me as well. I think that, I think that for him, it could be difficult just because against the low block sides, you don't get as much time or space onto the ball. And Tuchel did say that is one of his strengths, that if he has a little bit of time and he can make that run and kind of turn from the left to the center and run with the ball, that's like where his main strengths lie. But I do think that in the Premier League, there are so many teams that are going to sit back and not give you that much time and space on the ball, that it's going to be important for him to develop that side of his game as well. Like you said, I don't worry about his mentality at all. He still looks really strong. I don't see him hanging his head, getting down on himself. He did win the penalty against Tottenham. He is getting into good positions. He's making good runs. Sometimes his teammates need to pick out those runs, and that's going to come with chemistry as well. And I don't worry for him. Like you said, if he can just score a goal, I think we're just going to see a wave of relief wash over him once he just gets that goal, and then he can start building off of that. And I do think he's a phenomenal striker, and we're still going to see the best out of him. Oh my God, there's over 300 of you on here. I'm like, that's insane. What the heck? Okay, now it's dim. But oh my God, that's literally insane. So we have a question from Andrew. He says, I think Chelsea side will finally compete for the Premier League title next season and our chemistry will be 100%. What do you think?
Yeah, I've got a feeling. Next season, I mean, with a pre-season and hopefully a nice end to this season first. We got to think about that first. But with the trajectory we're going in, if we can just keep that up and keep developing and keep getting better, again, we don't know what we're even going to achieve this season. I'm looking to the Atletico game and I'm not feeling like I was before. I'm feeling optimistic now. I don't want to get too carried away. But as well as they're playing, we have a chance. There is hope now, So you never know. But with a nice preseason after this season's done, with going into next season, hopefully miles better than we are now. And even now we're looking good. Absolutely, we can try and compete for the title. Fingers crossed. That is where we're going to be. And my expectation wouldn't be we're going to win the title, but it's definitely we are in the title race next season. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and I think that this season as well has shown like Liverpool are not near the team that they were last season, and is really open. Even City didn't have a great start to the season, and they're finally stringing together some wins and getting chemistry, and they look really strong again. I think they're going to go on to win the title this season. But it really could be very open. The Liverpool team maybe is like a little bit over the hump of like the peak of their greatness, and perhaps they'll come back next season. Who knows? They're still an incredible side, but I just think it goes to show how open the title race can be. And if we can just like this year, we're having the team like learn how to play together, get some chemistry as well. And then next season, hopefully we can just see it all come together and really be title contenders. Like you said, I'm really excited for that Atletico game. I was hoping that they would have fans in the stadium because obviously it's like right by me.
Yeah. I mean, it might not even be played in Madrid. So
I know. I was like, my luck.
You're unlucky.
I live in the States. I can't see any games. And now I live in Madrid. We play a Madrid team, and I still can't see the games. So it's really unlucky with that. But I'm just going through the rest of the comments here to see what people are saying. James goes, my worry about starting Werner is that we cross the ball into the box so much, but he doesn't have a commanding presence in the air. But I do think that we aren't seeing that many crosses. That was something that they were reverting to. I don't want to keep saying under Lampard, but, I think like we kind of ran out of a bit of creativity and juice, so to week under Lampard, and we were crossing the ball a lot. But now we're seeing the team play a lot more direct. And I think Tuchel even mentioned that he doesn't like using the width of the pitch that much. And I think like he actually had training sessions. I don't know if he's done it at Chelsea, but with previous teams where he cut off the corners just to force the team to try to play more direct and then make it a little bit easier in the game as well. So I don't think that I really don't feel that we're crossing the ball all that much, and we are playing direct. So I don't really think that Timo should have an issue with it. What about you?
No, and I agree. And when I heard Tuchel speak about not really relying on width, and I heard, as you said, with his old training method of cutting the corners off, I mean, that was music to my ears. When I heard that, I was like, yes, fantastic, because all we did was cross, cross and hope. And it became too much. So, it's nice that he likes to be a bit more direct. And again, we have to understand that was only Tuchel's third game in charge against Spurs. He's not been here for 20 games. It's going to take a little bit more time for us to adjust. And we're already seeing signs. So I think we will be trying to lay off. I think the formation suits the way that Timo Werner plays and trying to get men behind to start feeding him. We saw a direct ball from Azpilicueta for the Spurs game, which led to the penalty, and Timo made that run. It only takes some players having the vision, whether it's just our midfielders and even our defenders, because historically Tuchel teams even have centre-backs that look and send a cross-diagonal ball. And if you have a striker running onto that, like a Timo Werner likes to do, that will suit him. So it'll take a little bit more time, and hopefully tomorrow we'll see more of it. But as time progresses and games go on, I think we're going to see more and more of feeding the ball into Timo Werner. I think it will become the norm eventually. So I'm not worried.
Like you said, we do have center backs that can do it as well. Like we've seen Thiago Silva pull off those passes. I think even Rudiger was pinging the balls to the right-hand side. And we know that Jorginho is capable of it. I haven't seen it as much recently, but I do remember that goal with him and Tammy last season. I don't remember which team it was against.
No, Wolves or Norwich. One of them.
I know it was a yellow
Norwich.
Kit. So we know that Jorginho is capable of that as well. So I do think that we'll see that more. And like you said, like it's just gaining chemistry. And also Ziyech, if Ziyech is playing, which kind of brings me to the next point. So says Ziyech and Pulisic have to start tomorrow. We really have not seen Hakim Ziyech in this team. So what do you think about that? Why isn't he starting? Do you think he fits into the structure at all? I think he's made one appearance against Wolves, and that was it.
But this is the thing. Like, so if we're talking about the 210s, we have 5 potential options. We've got Mason Mount, we've got Pulisic that can play there, we've got Hudson-Odoi that can play there, we've got Kai Havertz, and we've got Ziyech. So we're stacked. But as I've already said, if we're starting Pulisic tomorrow, and Mason Mount is playing really well, it's difficult. But I'm at a point where no matter what Tuchel chooses, I'm happy. So say, for example, tomorrow he went with Havertz and Ziyech to start as a 210s. Cool. Fine with me. Like, I've not got a problem, because I think whatever 2 we put out under Tuchel, I think have the ability and the confidence to play to the best of their ability. So again, Ziyech will be playing games, just like Kante, just like everyone else that we're not really seeing at the moment. Kai Havertz, they will be involved. And if they're not going to play tomorrow, I do think, like a Ziyech, for example, if he doesn't start or play tomorrow, he will play 90 against Barnsley, I'm guessing, like Kai Havertz as well. So it's just a matter of time. We're going to have to let things play out, but they're all going to be involved. And Ziyech, for me, is no different.
Yeah, I think Ziyech as well has been struggling with some injuries. It seems like it's a little niggle here, a little niggle there, maybe just like adjusting to the league and the intensity of it. I don't know, but he also hasn't had like a really consistent run of games, I feel, because he just keeps getting injured. So maybe don't want to rush him as well, and just rely on other players. You have so many other players that you can play. And like you said, Barnsley would be an amazing game for him to start to get back some match fitness. So I'll just take a couple more questions. We're already hitting the hour mark. Before this stream, I was like, yeah, Younes, it's going to be like 30 minutes. Don't worry. Like double that. What can I say? You guys are awesome. So many questions. So thank you so much, honestly. Helmi goes, will Tammy get more game time under Tuchel? Younes, directed to you, my man.
I would say if we're playing with a front two, yes. And I think we will be seeing that at times this season. So, yeah, definitely keep your eyes peeled on Tammy. One thing I know about Tammy as well is that he's training really well. Really well. And again, check out Chelsea Unseen because you'll see portions of that where Tammy is looking fantastic in training, at least. It just depends, if he can bring that to a game, that would be great. Like against Burnley, for example, very heavy-footed, got brought off early, and he looked lethargic. If he can just take what he's doing in training and bring it to a game, yeah, absolutely. There's no reason why he can't play alongside Timo Werner, for example, or even as the lead man. So, I think there's going to be times where we play with two up top, and Tammy will be involved.
Yeah, and just to kind of add to your point, like when I think like if Timo Werner can start scoring goals, we're going to also see Tammy start scoring goals because it's again that competition for the spots. You want to try to like they can perfectly play together as well, but if it is just one or the other, you're going to be like, oh, I want you scored. Okay, now I need to score. You know what I mean? So I do think that we are going to see the best of Tammy. I think he's a really good striker as well. I really like Tammy Abraham. I think he's pretty underrated in the fan base personally. But yeah, against Burnley, he didn't look good. And massive props to Tuchel for noticing that and making a halftime substitution. I was like, oh my God, the ball's on this guy.
Exactly.
I really liked that as well. So Harrison has an interesting question. He says, do you think the players who were involved in this fixture last season have a point to prove? And I think, is this the one where we lost 3-0? If I'm not mistaken.
Did we lose? We did, didn't we?
Maybe you guys can confirm that because I remember like blocking this game out of my mind, but I do think we lost 3-0.
It didn't go well. That's the main thing. The fixture didn't actually go well. So I think it might have been a 3-0 defeat.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think I guess anytime that you lose against a side, you really want to try to prove yourself again. But I think just in general, everybody's trying to prove something under Tuchel. So everybody's going to be bringing their A game and try to play like the absolute best that they can.
Yeah, the history, I mean, in this case, doesn't really come into it. If we're being honest, like, yeah, we lost 3-0 last season, but that's last season, different manager, different setup. Like, this is, as you said just now, like, there's going to be players that want to prove a point. That's actually a good point. Shahab's just put it there. It was 3-3. Did we not make a comeback?
What?
We were 3-0 down and we made a comeback.
Wasn't that against West Brom just recently?
That could have been, actually. I'm losing my mind. I don't know. Maybe I'm tired too.
I think it was
3-0. It was 3-0. It was. Yeah. It was 3-0.
Yeah. It was West Brom that we came back 3-3. I used to have really terrible memory for this guy, so I'm really impressed with myself.
I'm not the best either. So.
I remember that goal that was scored like 3 years ago or whatever. No. So funny. A lot of people, McGoldrick killed us. Yeah, everybody's saying I think he scored like 5 Premier League goals and 3 are against Chelsea. Like the guy has an incredible record against us, honestly.
That tells you what you need to know, yeah.
I saw this funny comment and I'm trying to find it. Well, this one, thank you so much, James. Guys, honestly, don't forget to subscribe because it like really helps me out so much more than you know. I really appreciate you guys. We had like over 300 people at one point, which is like insane. I could never fathom that. And so Younes has inside info on the training pick session.
I really don't. I really don't. I could try and get it and let you guys know, but I really don't. So
I wish I did, but I don't. It's so Younes, best duo in Chelsea. The birthday twin duo over here.
We are.
Before I let you go, I do want to get a score prediction from you. What do you think? What do you think it's going to be?
I'm going to reverse the fixture. So 3-0 to Chelsea this time.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. I really like that. I'm going to go 2-0. I'm not feeling as optimistic given like the shooting boots aren't like 100%. So I'm going to go 2-0, but I do think that we're going to win this game. I think that it's probably going to be a pretty dominating performance again. I do have faith in Tuchel and the team, and everything seems to be going really well. So I really just want to keep on this like high streak. I'm just really happy with Chelsea recently, and it feels really good after having lost so many games for like a month and a half. That was rough. So.
That's true. It feels weird now. Like, it feels really good just being sure that everything is going to be okay. Like, we're not nervous about Chelsea matches anymore. Like, for tomorrow, I'm just excited. Like, yeah. So it's been a while. It's been a while since we felt like that. Yeah.
No, definitely. Like you said, like they did beat, it was Manchester United, right? That they only lost 1-0 to City. So it's not going to be an easy match by any means, guys. But I do think if we can get that first goal, it will open up a lot for us, and we can hopefully score a second, even a third. So I don't know. I always get really nervous but excited for Chelsea games, and it's like the highlight of my weekend. And I have to wait the entire day until 8:30 to watch it. So I'm like, oh, man. But Younes, thank you so much for joining me. Oh my God.
No problem.
For the guys that missed it, I totally messed up the times, and Younes came on at the very last second. I'm so lucky to be able to just text him and be like, hey, can you hop on the stream? So really, really means a lot. Everybody's here for you. We already know that from the comments. Everybody is here for you. But if there's one person that isn't, let them know where they can find you.
I mean, yeah, no, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure, honestly. And this will be done in reverse as well. So we're going to do something over on my channel at some point really soon. Keep your eyes peeled. But if you don't know where I am, as it says on screen, Younes Talks Football is where I am. And at YounesHH on Twitter, as well as Instagram as well. So, yeah, again, thanks for having me on, and hopefully 3 points tomorrow.
Yeah, no, thank you so much again for coming on. Guys, if you haven't liked this video, please do so. Honestly, I've said it a billion times, but it helps me out a lot. Subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of content coming up, a lot more streams. Younes will definitely be on a lot. So if you're here for Younes, you know, he's going to be on. So just subscribe for that reason, honestly. But thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And until next time, I'm out.